Hi, Dr. D here again with tip for the day on the brain. As you know, on October 15th, I will be providing a short series on teaching with the brain and mind. So tip for today, from a quote from Dr. Judy Willis. Dr. Judy Willis is a neurologist who actually turned teacher because she wanted to investigate what was actually happening in the classroom as to why she was getting increased cases of kids with ADHD and attention deficit, all of these issues and disruption in the classroom. And she was curious what in the world was going on for her caseload to increase for children. So she went, got certified, and became a teacher, as well as continuing her practice. And one of the things Dr. Judy Willis said was that the brain is a primitive brain. The brain is a primitive brain. So the same functions that the brain had in the times of the cavemen is the same way it operates now. Fight, flight, or freeze. It did it back then at the cavemen, and it's doing it today. It's just different in a classroom as opposed to out in the wild. But what the brain is an emotional brain, and that's what drives it. Why do you think there's so much talk now, especially now with SEL and the COVID-19 epidemic? What they're talking to you about is how to be able to handle the situations according to the way the brain functions. All the brain understands are emotions, stresses. It doesn't care how old you are. It doesn't care your occupation. It doesn't care how much money you make. All it understands is a stress. In the classroom, that stress manifests itself in different ways. Fighting, they're disruptive, maybe even fighting. Freeze, they're in a daze. Darlene, I'm calling you. Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't listening. That was the freeze. Okay, flight, tapping, disruptive, throwing things. Kids might actually try to run out of the room. We know this happens a lot with special education. Doesn't have to necessarily be from that response. It could be part of the manifestation of their disability. But either way, the kids still react in the fight, flight, or freeze state. You, as an educator, I know you're feeling the stress. Your environment has changed. Environment is very important. The environment that you created in that classroom, either it's going to be stress-free for those kids or it's not. The environment that they're in right now has changed as well as yours. Kids are learning from home. Maybe they're doing a combination, hybrid they call it, between home and school. You are also having a change in your environment. You're working from home without the same supplies that you might have in the classroom, or you're doing a combination of both. You're learning new technologies and having to learn them quickly and implement it so that the kids can get the most successful opportunity that they can. Stresses exist in every part. And we have to understand the brain so that we can properly address these stresses. English language learners, as you know, is my passion. It's my doctorate. They are experiencing stresses also, and perhaps even at a higher number. Because if you as a teacher do not understand the stages of language acquisition, you could be assigning homework that's either above or below that student's language of acquisition. And how do you do that in a remote environment? A lot of times teachers struggle doing that face-to-face. So how do we translate this or transfer this to this remote environment, to this COVID education that we're presently in? There are ways. But we have to know about how the brain operates so that we can be successful for all students. I look forward to, hopefully, seeing you on October 15th. Happy sciencing, Dr. D.